Hey there, Rachel from Let's Be Authentic here. Today I am talking about grief. Grief is a topic that for me was so impactful to understand more deeply for myself. I don't think I realized at the time that I just had an assumption that grief was when someone dies. That's kind of when you're allowed to feel grief, and my understanding was that it goes through these very specific stages when that happens. And what I realized later in life is that grief is every day in some ways, right? Anytime we face loss, there can be grief. And it can be subtle, and it can be little losses. And grief itself is so much more complex than just these stages that are named, that I'm not even going to try to remember off the top of my head right now because I've got a lot on my mind. But I'm sure you're familiar with them. And the thing that I've learned for myself is that there's some key markers that can come up when I am grieving that are not as commonly talked about. One example for myself is like my tolerance for people and situations that are actually not serving me, that I may have been enduring, maybe because they, weren't so bad, or it's like subtle over time. My tolerance for that stuff goes right out the window if I'm grieving. And there can be listlessness, of course, depression, which I know is one of the things on the list. But I think the other thing that I was not understanding, and some of you might be familiar with this, is that the things that do come with grief, it's not coming linear. It's not that, oh, now I am over this phase, I'm over the denial phase, and therefore I'm stepping into this other phase. It actually happens in these waves. Like if you think of an ocean, standing where the water, the tide will come in and hit your feet and pull itself back, and it's like you don't know what wave of grief is gonna come at you next. And so sometimes it can be deep sadness, and other times it can be the other elements, the other aspects. But I think what I want you to know or think about is, are you grieving? Are you giving space for the grief that you might be experiencing about things that are maybe less talked about? These minor losses, or ways in which things have changed, and what was once before is no longer, and therefore is to be grieved. Because if grief isn't expressed or acknowledged, it will come out sideways. It will come out somewhere, or it'll fester under the surface, and then again come out somewhere in the future in a way that maybe is even more confusing. So the more we can acknowledge what it is that's changed, or what it is that we've lost and that we have feelings about, the more we can process through that and get to the other side of what's next, and allow space for new creation. Because it's all about the cycle of things going away and new things emerging, and death and rebirth. So yeah, think about your own relationship with grief. Think about if you've allowed yourself to grieve, the small things, the big things. And yeah, what are some of the key markers that you have for yourself where it's like, oh man, this is my grief. That's what's here. So anyway, something to think about. Take what you will and leave the rest. Thanks for watching.